Welcome to the Coach Debbie Potts Show, where high performers learn how to stop guessing and start aging stronger, not slower. Your host is Coach Debbie Potts, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, metabolic health coach, and host of this show. Here, we dive into the why behind fatigue, stubborn weight, hormone chaos, gut issues, and declining performance. Using real data, functional lab testing, metabolism analysis, and simple daily habits that actually move the needle. Whether you're an endurance athlete, an executive, or simply committed to becoming your strongest future you, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Coach Debbie Potts Show. I'm your host, Debbie Potts, the functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I'm also a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, a metabolic health investigator, nutrition coach, personal trainer, endurance athlete coach, and more, but also putting that all together into creating what I call my new focus, the FutureYou Blueprint. And if you're new here, welcome. I've had this podcast for a long time, since 2012. We started the show called Fit, Fat, Fast with John Smith. And I have been left the podcast and continued on because I love exploring new topics, interviewing amazing guest experts, and sharing what I'm learning with you on my rabbit hole episodes. So I'm grateful for you joining me again. Today might be a little different. It's just not another podcast about nutrition, hormones, gut health, or just metabolism. I want to share with you the philosophy behind everything I've been wanting to teach more and more this past year, and the programs I continue to create. After more than 25 years coaching athletes, executives, high performers, entrepreneurs, I've realized something. And in middle age, as myself, turning 55 somehow this November, I am starting to see patterns and understand what changes as we age and what we can do about it. What I'm coming to understand is most people do not have an information problem. They may have an interpretation problem. They read the books, they're listening to podcasts, they're scrolling on their social media, Instagram, Reels, TikTok. They're buying all these different longevity supplements. They've tried intermittent fasting. They tried keto. They tried carnivore, low carb, high carb. They're focusing on strength training. Then they're focusing on HIIT training, zone 2, cold plunges, sauna, red light, whatever, you name it. Yet, these individuals still feel that they're slowly losing the person that they used to be. Maybe that's you. You wake up tired. Recovery isn't just what it used to be. Your workouts don't feel that they're producing the same results. You gain body fat despite eating healthy and doing all the right things. You know your hormones are beginning to shift. And your sleep is becoming a little more inconsistent and getting that deep restorative quality sleep. You're tracking everything. You don't know what's going on. Your brain fog is here one day and gone the next day. You have digestion issues. Maybe you feel just stiff, inflamed. And eventually you start to hear something from your doctor. Their cholesterol's climbing. Your blood sugar is a little bit higher. You have osteopenia. You have plaque in your arteries. Your thyroid's slow. Your hormones are changing. Might be the thought in your head that, oh my gosh, this just happened. But here's what I'm learning. As with my own health issues, this didn't just happen suddenly. As I was at the hospital all morning with my mom, who had to have a procedure on her lung, a lung biopsy, to prepare for this procedure, they did an EKG on her. They came to us before the doctor was able to start doing the lung biopsy, and the heart doctor had to come in and say, hey, your EKG is a little bit off. You're starting to see some hard plaque and seeing this left ventricle, what's it called? Defibrillation, whatever. Can't even think right now. But the point is, it didn't just happen. When I researched the root cause of left ventricle blockage, it's more understanding the why. I've had 2 other people that are friends of mine ask me this week for help, or maybe not wanting my help, but mentioning the health problems they're having, that their doctor gave them statin drugs, the doctor gave them beta blockers. And what I wish people would understand, kind of inspired me to do this today, all of these diagnoses that we get, it didn't just happen. The labels we get, and then the result, we get a prescription. That's treating the end result. But don't you want to know why your heart isn't in rhythm? Why do you have this problem, whatever it might be? Your body has been telling you for years different signals, messages. I believe maybe we're not taught how to listen. And that's exactly what I want to dive into in this episode and future episodes in a series. Now, if you know my story, I was a competitive Ironman triathlete. I did marathons a few times a year, 50K trail runs. I ran my own fitness and wellness studio, training clients, teaching group circuit training, TRX classes when they first were big. I did nutritional therapy. I had a sauna. I had an acupuncturist, a massage therapist in the room. I was doing a lot of everything. And I got what I used to call adrenal exhaustion in 2013 and had to stop training and racing. I didn't really have a choice. I just had no energy. And for years, I believed the same things that most athletes believe. More training equals more fitness. More discipline equals more health. If I push harder, I was consistent with my workouts, training at that max aerobic function heart rate, or Phil Maffetone's max aerobic function. I wasn't probably sleeping enough. We tend to do more. High performers, more is better. I did Ironman since 2001 until 2013 when I wasn't able to race anymore. I qualified for Ironman Hawaii multiple times. That requires you to qualify in another Ironman, so you end up doing 2 Ironmans a year. I do marathons to qualify for Boston Marathon, so you do another marathon. At the same time, I was building a fitness industry or fitness business. I was coaching clients that were trying to improve their aging process. They weren't necessarily athletes, they're just health optimizers. They wanted to get stronger. And for myself, I look healthy on the outside. But inside, I didn't realize my biology was probably telling me a different story for years, and I did not recognize it because no one taught me what the whispers meant. I wasn't sick. I wasn't thriving. I didn't have digestion issues. I'm sure I had hormone changes as I was 42, and perimenopause can start for women in their early 40s. And I'm just going through that 1 year of no cycle at age 54, 55. Sleep disruption can be an issue. Chronic fatigue. For me, I had weight gain despite training. I had poor recovery. I felt inflamed. Eventually, this chronic fatigue, exhaustion from everything I was doing, my body forced me to pay attention. I wrote a book, Life is Not a Race, and explained the big aha moment was actually at my Todd Durkin Mastermind retreat in Torrey Pines. And I was on a party bus. I was fasting really into low carb. I just did a sprint workout and then went to we had the end of the Mastermind retreat party on a party bus going to Temecula to a winery, and I drank alcohol. And I hadn't eaten, and I just worked out. And I don't drink much. And I was severely sick. Basically, short version of the story, I threw up everywhere. I passed out. I was sick for another week. That was a big aha. I was like, what is wrong with me? And now I know so much more, doing genetic testing, knowing what I did with functional lab testing after that happened. So I had to start paying attention to my body, to the signals my body was telling me. Instead of what workout should I do next, what supplement phase am I in, what nutrition plan should I stick with, should I do more fasting, should I go lower carb, should I focus on more protein, I became curious in the last few years of understanding the why. Why does this happen? Why does the body stop adapting? Why is their metabolism slowing as we age? Why are our hormones changing? Why do people gain fat when they eat less? Why do healthy people become unhealthy? And these questions eventually led me to become a nutritional therapy practitioner in 2014, 2015. I did the FDN program to be able to do functional lab testing in 2019. And I did metabolism testing back in 2007, years ago, with New Leaf Metabolic Testing Cart, and did Bob Seebohor's training, metabolic efficiency coach. And then I bought my own Pinoy metabolism kit 4 years ago in 2022, 23, and really gotten into the vagus nerve research and systems biology and learning a lot from Martha Carlin on the microbiome and signals the body is giving us and the signals we are sending our body. So one of the biggest myths in healthcare is, I believe, people think disease appears overnight. It doesn't. Disease is almost always the end of a very long story. Think about heart disease. Most people believe my doctor found plaque. No, that's simply when someone finally looked. The plaque didn't appear 6 months ago. It developed over years. Soft plaque turned into hard plaque, sometimes decades. And that's similar with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, osteoporosis, autoimmune disease. The diagnosis we are given isn't the beginning. It's the milestone that tells us that the body has been adapting for years. And when I get clients, I don't tell this to friends. They can choose to see me as a practitioner. The diagnosis is a label, and it's not where the story starts. It's where someone finally gave the story a name, a label, and it changes everything. And what frustrates me so much is I was at the hospital all morning this morning. The result, when you get a diagnosis, is a label, and what do they do to treat it? They give you a medication. And there's no look at the body working all together to create metabolic harmony. What's missing? What's out of balance? How do we get the body's innate intelligence to work at optimal level and for all the systems to work together? So I had this question today. Someone didn't know what functional medicine is or root cause medicine. It's a great question. Most people think that root cause means finding one thing, one infection, food deficiency, maybe a parasite. Life is rarely that simple. Instead, we think of our body as a city. We have millions of conversations happening every second. Think of it as traffic lights, roads, electrical grids, water systems, waste removal, power systems. Everything is connected. So if the traffic lights stop communicating, nothing is broken. The roads still exist, the cars work, but suddenly the traffic becomes chaotic. Accidents are going to happen, delays occur, and people can't get where they want to go. Over time, the beginning doesn't seem like a months, but over time, cities begin to fail. The problem wasn't the cars. Overall, it's communication. And this is how I'm seeing how the body works. Health depends on communication. Our nervous system, the hormones, the gut, the immune system, mitochondria, our gut bacteria. Every second, every minute, every hour of the day, the body is sending and receiving biological messages. When those messages become distorted, the body starts to adapt to that message. And if that happens for a long time, eventually those adaptations become symptoms. And this is why I don't simply chase symptoms. When we do a nutritional therapy analysis, an intake form, we look at all your signs and symptoms. To me, they are clues. And I start to investigate what's broken in this communication system. This thought of that your body is just adapting may be one of the most important things I'm learning this past year. I'm thinking about all this together, reflecting. I'm always curious and going a little bit deeper of understanding the why behind everything. Your body isn't failing you, you keep hearing from other practitioners. It's adapting. But what's that extra body fat telling us? It's information. What about your energy level being low and you feel sluggish? Another clue. What's the poor sleep quality going on? high blood sugar, changes in your hormones, your brain fog, your focus, your memory, your digestion, inflammation, different parts of your body. It's information. So your symptoms are not your enemy. They are your body's attempt to protect you. And as I've said many times, your metabolism isn't broken. It's adapting. Your hormones are not attacking you. Your immune system isn't randomly malfunctioning. Your gut isn't trying to ruin your life. This is all about adapting. What I really want to think about is what signals cause those adaptations. Now start thinking as an investigator. And that's what I feel that I do when someone talks about or asks, what is an FDN practitioner? Most people have no idea what it means. FDN, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner. And also, what is a nutritional therapy practitioner? I had someone that I was working with thought for months, I'm a nutrition coach. It's a lot more than that. Think of FDN as a health investigator. I don't diagnose disease. I don't replace your physician. In fact, I truly believe that the physician is an essential part of our healthcare team. We should be integrated. Medical doctors diagnose disease and prescribe medications when appropriate, and they manage acute and chronic medical conditions. And that expertise is invaluable. My role as a health practitioner is asking questions that become before a diagnosis or help explain the underlying physiology after one gets a label. I investigate. Let's look at the missing pieces of your health puzzle. Collect data, recovery, your digestion, your blood sugar, your muscle health, your body comp, heart rate variability, your sleep stats, metabolism testing. Is your nervous system stuck in survival mode? All these are physiological questions. They're not at all diagnostic labels. And often I think of a detective. I'm walking into a crime scene. I act as a detective, and let's pick up clues. Interview the witnesses, collect fingerprints, look for patterns, connect evidence, and eventually the story becomes clear. And that's what I find I've done more and more as an FDN practitioner, is being that health investigator. Every symptom is a clue. Every lab test gives us clues. Every lifestyle habit is a clue. Every stressor, every recovery habit. But one clue does not tell us the whole story. But when we connect the dots, we put the missing pieces of the puzzle all together, we've collected enough clues, then the physiology begins to make sense. So this is what I've been working on the past year. Patterns. This is where my work has evolved over the last few months to 2 years, doing metabolism testing and integrating that with my functional lab testing. I used to just focus on the lab values, what's higher, lower than optimal level, what's off balance. But now I'm really identifying patterns. Because as we know, biology doesn't work in isolation. Our body has systems, and all the systems work together to create metabolic harmony, as I say. We resolve metabolic chaos by restoring metabolic harmony, getting the body's innate intelligence back online. Your gut influences your brain influences your hormones, the hormones impact our metabolism impacts our inflammation influences our mitochondria influence our energy production, and energy production influences our ability to recover. And if we can't recover, our aging is impacted. So really, it's one huge communication network. So I put together these metabolic patterns from metabolism testing and correlating with labs. I can call it, I guess, the metabolic pattern analysis. Instead of asking what's wrong with this lab, what pattern is emerging across the person's physiology? Because patterns develop long before any chronic disease. Imagine a timeline. At the very beginning, you are healthy and vibrant. Your body's communicating well, you adapt easily, you recover quickly. And then real life happens. You have chronic stress, your sleep is off, you're traveling, you're drinking alcohol, you're overtraining, under-recovering, you're not eating enough, or maybe you're overeating, you've got inflammation, you have toxins all over in your environment, your workplace, your home, and then your hormones start to change in middle age. Then you start to have gut issues. Nothing big, not big, huge, dramatic changes, but just tiny signals. But over time, I always talk about acute stressors versus chronic stressors. When these signals become too much, that they become to change and impact our patterns, we start to see patterns. Physiology changes, the symptoms start to appear, and then one day you go see your doctor and you get a diagnosis. You see what happens? We are trained just to go along, do our thing. Something happens, we get help, and then we get a diagnosis, and then we get a medication. I want to meet you years earlier when the whispers first begin, because that's when the body is most adaptable. That's when resilience can be restored. And this is what has led me to follow my purpose to create the FutureYou Blueprint. Not to help you chase symptoms, but to help you understand your own biology, to recognize patterns early, and to take ownership of your health long before diseases define your future. So in the next section, I want to show you one of my favorite tools for uncovering those whispers before they become a diagnosis or a label, we like to say. I want to dive into the metabolic pattern analysis that I've come up with from using Pinoy resting metabolism testing and active metabolism analysis. And I will explain why metabolism is so much more than just how many calories you burn a day and what is your VO2 max. If you've ever wondered why you are doing all the right things, but you still struggle to get the results you want and expect, your metabolism may already be telling us a story, which is why we say as FDN practitioners to test and not guess what's going on under the hood. Once we understand how to read the story your body's telling us, we can begin to create a personalized roadmap to become the healthiest version of yourself in the future. So we can strive to thrive as we age and not struggle. So let's dive in, because I want to offer you motivation to take ownership of your health today and to get a personalized program that helps you, a high-performing individual, to help you decode your own biology, to restore resiliency, create a healthier future you before dysfunction becomes a chronic disease. So let's dive into part 2. And don't think of metabolism testing as, I've begun to dislike calling my metabolism testing as VO2 max test. And a resting metabolism test is how many calories you burn a day. This is how much you need to eat to gain weight or to lose weight. What I've been trying to share is this big shift in my own thinking over the last decade, but really the last year to 2 years. What's wrong with my body? I want us to start looking at what is the body trying to communicate. So I want to introduce to you one of my favorite investigative tools, because they allow us to hear the messages years before disease develops. So I've determined that we can get so much more information from a metabolism test. I call it metabolic pattern analysis. And one of the ways I perform it using Pinoy resting metabolism rate testing and the active metabolism testing, or people call VO2 max. So before you think this is just another metabolism VO2 max test, zone 2, stay with me, because this is huge. I'm going to be doing this at Hack Your Health Conference this November in Tampa and offer this resting metabolism test and help figure out your pattern. It's not about weight loss. It's not just about eating less, exercising more. It's about understanding how your own body is creating energy and what happens when the energy producing systems begin to struggle. Metabolism is not just calories, it's life. And most people think metabolism is simply how many calories you burn each day. And this is how I came up with this, diving deep into the truth. Metabolism is every chemical reaction occurring inside of your body every second of every day. And this is how we convert food into energy, ATP. And I was just looking up information on how to improve cardiovascular health when we have heart issues, as the doctor just told my mom. How does your heart beat? It needs energy. It's not about just electrical charge and mineral balancing, which they didn't bring up either, but the mitochondria. They need to create energy for your heart to pump blood, to move. We need flow. We need nitric oxide. There's a lot of ingredients needed to keep our heart going, to keep our brain going, to keep our immune system strong, and our muscles to get stronger and repair and recover, our hormones to communicate to each other, our digestive system. So without metabolism, we're not alive. My metabolism has slowed down, is what people often say, and they come get a resting metabolism test. And this is what happened earlier that kind of ignited me to go down these rabbit holes. These younger moms that are busy, high performers, doing all the right things, their metabolism showed it slowed down on their report. When I tested them, they were burning fewer calories than they needed for their height, weight, age, and gender, and their activity level. But I started to think, is there somewhere inside that there's this communication network problem? There's adaptation to our busy, high-performing lives. If we think of our body as a smart city, we talked before, thinking your body is a modern city, electricity powers every building. The road moves the supplies, the communication towers keeps everyone connected. The water flows where needed, the waste is removed efficiently, emergency services respond when necessary. But imagine that electricity becomes inconsistent. The lights are not always on. Nothing immediately breaks, but the traffic lights just start to malfunction. The computers slow down. Factories become less productive, the hospital struggles, the city just still functions, but not as efficiently. And that's what I see with metabolism. It's not just I'm getting older, this is my new normal, this is going to happen. It's not simply about how much energy do you have. What I'm understanding is it's how efficiently is every system in your body communicating together and adapting. This is why I've become to really love doing metabolism testing, but understanding what happens with the data I get and correlate it to the unique individual. Most people are not motivated to do testing, and I'm trying to explain why this is so important. It's not just another fancy gadget. Again, I don't care so much how many calories you burn a day. I'm looking at it from a different lens. It's giving us objective data how your body is functioning before obvious disease develops. Your resting metabolic rate test asks a simple question. To me, I look at how efficiently does your body produce energy while you are doing absolutely nothing? Think about that. You're lying down on a table 10 to 15 minutes breathing into a mask. I might put some nice binaural beats, relaxing music on, cover your eyes up. But your body is performing millions of chemical reactions every second. The test is measuring what you breathe in, the oxygen consumption, what you breathe out, the carbon dioxide production, the fuel you are using, your metabolic efficiency, what's called the respiratory exchange ratio, and your resting energy expenditure. So those numbers are interesting, but what really is interesting me lately as I figured out these patterns hiding underneath those numbers. I really get excited about one thing, one value, one number in it by itself. Biology doesn't work in isolation, so I'm looking for these patterns. A metabolic pattern analysis is when I'm looking at all the data together. How does the nervous system appear to be functioning? How's the body recovering? Are the muscles being preserved? Is fat oxidation very efficient? Is the body conserving energy? And that's something I look at. Are we in survival mode and are we conserving? So we've got survival and conserving versus safety and build. And the mitochondria respond and they adapt appropriately. Is this person resilient? Are they surviving? So these questions matter so much more when I'm helping create a personalized program for you. It's much more than one calorie number. And when I review your report, we're going over this. Most people just take the report, they look at how many calories you're burning, that's it. But I'm trying to get the message out that there's more information here. Pattern 1, sympathetic dominance. One of the most common patterns I've been seeing in clients that I'm testing, sympathetic dominance. The body that's forgotten how to exhale. Everything is urgent. Everything feels stressful. Even when life isn't obviously dangerous, the nervous system is on high alert. I learned this myself when I started to have my red flags in March 2013. My nervous system was on high alert. I'm exhausted. I can't shut my brain off. I wake up at 3 a.m. Digestion's terrible. Anxiousness all day long. Heart variability scores in the tank. Your workouts may leave you drained instead of energized. This is not just a stress problem. It's also a communication problem. The body has been focusing on survival so much that it stops prioritizing repair. Your digestion is going to slow down. The body flow shifts away from the gut. Your recovery, your inflammation, your hormones, the metabolism, everything changes. And if I just simply prescribe another supplement without even addressing the nervous system regulation, we are missing the root of the pattern. And this is why I've completely changed my own 5R protocol that I work with clients on. When we do the lab testing and metabolism testing, figure out what do you need to do. No matter what that stool test shows us, I already know we probably need to restore physiological safety. And that's my restore phase of my own version of the 5R protocol, of the FutureYou Blueprint. Next pattern I can identify is AMPK dominance. AMPK dominance. AMPK versus mTOR. We've heard about this. AMPK got really popular back years ago when we got into fasting. Intermittent fasting, the 16-8, the OMAD, 1 meal a day, 24-hour fasting, fasting mimicking diet, alternate day fasting. We had so many variations of fasting to activate AMPK. It's your cellular fuel gauge. When your energy is low, AMPK says we need to conserve. And that response is intelligent. We wanted that. Fasting created benefits. But the problem occurs when the body receives that message every day, day after day. And this is why our fasting community and my functional medicine practitioner space and fellow podcasters and metabolic experts, if you are a high performing executive, an athlete, you're exercising 6 days a week, you're skipping breakfast, you're working long hours, you're drinking coffee instead of eating, you're intermittent fasting 16 to 18 hours a day, maybe you're getting 6 hours of sleep, you're pushing through fatigue. And on paper, we look disciplined. But biologically, we were starving our cells. The body thought it was getting the message. This isn't enough. You're exercising, you're eating too little, and you're fasting a lot. The body's giving you the response as it should. It's going to conserve energy. The recovery will slow down, the hormones declined, muscles, they became harder to build. And fat becomes easier to store. And the metabolism becomes more protective. The body is not broken. Remember, it was just adapting to what you were telling it to do. And this is what happened to a lot of us back when we were fasting and exercising and doing low calorie, low carb. So another pattern I can see with clients is something different. What if they have low mTOR signaling? So the opposite of the equation. mTOR has received a lot of negative attention when AMPK was so popular because of excessive activation, and it can contribute to aging. Remember, there's a Goldilocks effect for everything. Not too much, not too little, acute versus chronic. There's nuances. Without enough healthy mTOR signaling, we can't rebuild. We can't maintain muscle, and we're not going to recover very well. And we can't repair the tissue efficiently. And this is pretty important for us over age 40. As we age, we've talked a lot about this on the video channel, and other solo podcasts have done, maintaining muscle becomes one of the strongest predictors of independence, metabolic health, bone density, longevity. And that's why I'm constantly talking about protein since I met with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon in January 2020. Strength training, the leucine threshold, proper recovery, specific resistance to exercise training. We're not trying to become bodybuilders. I want to send the body a message. You are still needed. Muscle is a signal. Proper strength is a signal, but also movement is a signal. So everything we do is biological information. All right, one more pattern. A mixed pattern. Most people don't fit neatly into one little category, right? We're sympathetic dominant, we're often underfueled, we're inflamed, not sleeping, hormones all wacky, gut functions, gut issues. But this is where we stop asking, which supplement fixes this? I started to ask, before I give supplements, what story are all these patterns telling us together? This is metabolic chaos. We want to investigate what's going on. So metabolism is only one chapter. Pinoy metabolism testing, or any whatever metabolic cart company you're using, it's going to tell you what your metabolism is doing, but it doesn't always tell me the why. And that's when I want to sometimes add in for people functional lab testing. It's putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle. Metabolism is in one corner, blood chemistry another corner, hormones as a Dutch test the other side, the gut microbiome, and then your lifestyle, your sleep routine, your stress management. The complete picture only appears when all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. So if someone walks into the clinic where I do testing, say they're 52 years old, they've gained 20 pounds despite exercising and eating healthy, but they're exhausted. They don't have any motivation or drive. They went to see doctors and they said the labs are normal. So I do metabolism testing on them. And I see sympathetic dominance, poor fat oxidation, low metabolic flexibility, so they're burning carbohydrates, they're not switching back and forth as they should, and they really struggled recovering after their workout. So then I ask, what's going on? Their blood work shows insulin trending upward. I see inflammation markers at the higher end where they should be in optimal ranges. Their vitamin D is really low. I see that ferritin level elevated. And then we look at their Dutch test. It reveals flattened cortisol rhythm, lower than it should be DHEA. And we can see the progesterone going down, testosterone declining. And then I look at their stool test. Shows poor or low diversity in the microbiome. They have low levels of butyrate, short-chain fatty acid butyrate producing bacteria. They have some markers of impaired digestion, poor protein digestion, low stomach acid can be a clue, and low digest enzymes. So now the story begins to unfold. It's not about one bad lab result. It's about a body that's been adapting for years of accumulated stress. And that's what I think of a root cause investigation looking like. It's not being fearful, it's about being curious. And so these examples are not to scare anyone. I want to share them more often because we need to understand how incredibly intelligent our bodies are and that they're constantly adapting in an attempt to keep us alive, to survive. So remember to ask yourself why, not just ask why is my body doing this to me? Why me, as I used to? But instead, I switched my mindset to understanding what is my body trying to protect me from? What's going on? So in the next series, I want to connect everything we've discussed today, and I'll show you how functional blood chemistry panel, combined with the Dutch hormone test, which is dried urine, a stool test, which is obviously poop, and metabolism testing can become a personalized roadmap inside the FutureYou Blueprint 5R method. Because data alone doesn't change your future, but understanding your patterns does. And once you understand the patterns, we can start to shift and get your body from metabolic chaos to metabolic harmony and change the signals to help shape the healthiest version, most resilient version of yourself in the future. So stay tuned for the next episode coming out soon. Thanks for listening and stay connected. Send me any questions you have, and please share this with someone else who may be struggling getting results with everything they're trying to do.
Thanks for listening to the Coach Debbie Pod Show. If today's episode sparked a light bulb moment, that's your sign to stop guessing and start building your personalized FutureYou Blueprint. You can learn more or book a discovery call at www.debbiepotts.net. Be sure to follow the show on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search Coach Debbie Potts. 2 T's. If this episode helped you, please subscribe, rate, and review. It's how we help more people age with strength, energy, and clarity. Until next time, remember, age is inevitable. How you age is not.